Hi everyone, it's Karen here and welcome back to my channel. I'm so glad you came back again. Today I created an altered star-shaped box which is part of a chocolate box that came for the holidays. My husband actually bought this chocolate box even though I technically don't like chocolates, just because he saw it at Costco and he thought it would be a good shape to create something for my art. And he was right, because a star shape is really hard to find in terms of canvases or boxes. So this was perfect to create a star-shaped ornament or some kind of decoration for Christmas, or even if you don't celebrate Christmas. If you're Jewish, then it would be for celebrating Hanukkah or just decorating your house in general. So my husband and the kids ate the chocolates, and I was lucky enough to keep both the box and the lid. And the lid is the one I'm altering today because it's not as deep as the box. And all I'm doing is just priming it with gesso because it's made out of a cardboard base, and I wanted to make sure that if I add any mediums, it will not seep into the cardboard. All the links to all the products are listed below in the description area. And I do suggest that if you're ever in any store that has star-shaped boxes or any type of shapes that you can alter, because I really love upcycling. So it's best that you buy them and then think later of what you want to do with them. You can definitely eat the contents and then go ahead and keep the boxes for altering, which is really, really great. I just love the fact that my husband knows me so well and knows that I would have loved a shaped box like this. Once the gesso was dry, and I did give it a couple of coats to make sure that the gesso is pretty thick, I went ahead and added some texture to the background. I took an old doily. This used to be my grandmother's doily, and when she passed away, I kept a lot of the things that she had in her house because I thought it was amazing to incorporate that into my art. I really love upcycling things, like I said, so this was a great idea. And this is a great way to use stuff, memorable stuff that you have in your house as well. So I'm using matte gel medium from Prima Finnabair to just glue the different elements to the background. I have a star-shaped styrofoam embellishment, and I'm also using one of Prima resin frames from the Memory Hardware collection. To add even more texture to the star, I went ahead and wrapped it with some twine just to make sure that it gets some extra texture around. So all I did is just wrap it around. The star already had some of the gel because I had tried to glue it to the background. So the nice thing about that is that the actual gel held the string together really, really well. And then I put some gel in the back and glued it to the box. Then I went ahead and glued the resin again because I had taken it off to add the string. And then I realized that I wanted the back of the resin to be smooth. So I took a scrap piece of paper that I had on my desk. It's a watercolor paper, and I just cut it around the shape of the resin and glued it to the background. That way I had it smooth so I could add any sentiment I wanted inside the resin. To add some gritty texture to the smaller star, I took my Prima Finnabair Stone Effect paste. This is the concrete one, and I added some texture to the edges of the star using a palette knife. I let the Stone Effect paste dry, and in the meantime I realized that I actually wanted to turn the smaller star inside the bigger star and line up the corners. The reason why I wanted to do that is because I suddenly got the feeling that I wanted it to look something like a mandala, and that way it lined up perfectly. To add some even more texture and to add one of my favorite products, I added some of the art stones from Prima Finnabair as well. I added both the mega stones and the regular art stones to each of the corners of the larger star. Because it's a shadow box, I was able to insert them inside the corners and make a beautiful textured edge to each of those corners. All I did is I took some of the soft matte gel, and like in my previous videos, I went ahead and dipped it into the art stone container and then glued it to the background. I really love this type of technique because it's really easy to control the art stones and they just don't fly everywhere. And you can put them in the place that you want them to be. So I just went ahead and added both stones into the different corners until I was done with all the corners. I let the art stones dry overnight because these have to be thoroughly dry in order to add any type of medium on top of it. The next day, I went ahead and added some more embellishments because I really wanted it to look like a mandala. So I took some of the clear stones that Prima Finnabair makes. These look like bubbles, but they're only bubbled up on one side and their other side is flat. So these are perfect for altering. And I went ahead and glued one on each of the empty spaces in between the edges of the star. And then I took some small trinkets and glued them to the corners of the small star. Before I went ahead and added all the paint, I wanted to make sure I'm protecting all the embellishments and giving them a light coat to be primed for the paint. So I took some clear gesso, and you can definitely use white or black gesso in this case as well. But I really wanted the clear gesso because I wanted the colors to be true to themselves. I didn't want the white or black gesso to alter the color or the brilliance of the acrylic paint. The other reason is because the clear gesso from Prima Finnabair is actually really light and liquidy, and it creates a smooth coat on top of the embellishments without giving too much of a layer. I didn't want the coat on top of the embellishments, especially the art stones, to be too thick because then it loses the texture that it has. And so adding a thin coat with the clear gesso helped preserve that texture. Now it was time to do my favorite part of this whole project, which is to paint it. And I took 3 colors from the Prima Finnabair Art Alchemy Metallique acrylic colors and started applying them to the background. I started with the light patina in the center of my project and added very little bit of it because I felt it was a little bit too light. So I continued on with the rich turquoise and I added this around the light patina, and when it mixed with it, it created a really lighter part in the center and then a little bit darker on the outside. So I ended up coloring the small star with the rich turquoise. It's good to start from the lighter colors all the way to the darker colors because then you can blend them better. The third color I use is the Deep Waters color, and it's a beautiful blue. It looks like the deep part of the ocean, and it just looks beautiful when combined with the rich turquoise. So I started adding it, and when it was added with the rich turquoise, it was blending really beautifully. And then I continued to paint that deep water color all the way to the edges of my star. To paint the star and be able to have all angles so I don't miss any areas, I ended up rotating the star so I could get each corner to be covered perfectly from all angles. I want to talk a little bit about this project and why I created it while you watch me paint the blue on the background. So this project was created because we were asked to think of one word that we wish everyone for the new year for 2018. And each of us on the Finnabair Ambassador team had to think of a word that would represent something in us, but also something that we wish others. And I thought that the perfect word is hope. And that's why I went ahead and glued that word in the middle of this star. The star not only represents something to me, as it looks like the Star of David, and I really am connected to that for my religion, but it can also connect to other people because it almost looks like the Star of Hope. It can be the star that goes on top of a Christmas tree. So it could really be a star for all type of religions, all type of races, all type of people and humans in the world, and just humanity in general. And I wanted to wish everybody hope and peace, and that everybody will just live in a place where they feel happy to live in. So that's my wish for everybody in 2018. To add a little bit more brightness and shine to the background, I took some of the Sparks acrylic paints from Prima Finnabair and I added it to the center star. These lightened the centered area and created a beautiful shine. I used Magical Pond and Mermaid Sparkle to add a little bit of both colors and create a beautiful center star that was shining really bright. Finally, I knew I wanted to add some gold to the background, but only in a dry brush technique, so it would add only some highlights on the textured areas. So I took the Prima Finnabair Art Alchemy Sparks, this time in the Dragon's Eye color, and using a small paintbrush, I added it on all the texture that I had added, which is the art stones, the textured paste, the string, and the bubbles. So it really brought those beautiful golden highlights to the surface and made the project stand out even more. For this technique to work, you need to have a paintbrush that is not soaked in paint, meaning that when you're applying it, the brush should be dry enough that it only catches the surface of the texture. I edged the edges of the box as well to give the box a little bit of a border, and then continued adding the texture in all the other areas. You really want to make sure that you don't put too much paint so it doesn't cover up the paint underneath. You really want that blue or whatever color you put underneath to create a shadow underneath the golden highlights. I also decided that instead of just having golden paint as highlights, I also wanted to have some golden glitter. So I took the Prima Finnabair Art Ingredients glitter set and I went ahead and applied some of the glitter to each of the corners. I took some soft matte gel and diluted it with a little bit of water so it wouldn't be too thick and it would create kind of like a fluid medium that I could stick the glitter on top. Then I applied the medium to the corners and sprinkled some of that golden glitter on top of the medium so it would stick to it, and then just pushed it and brushed it off so it would blend into the background. That way it added this really beautiful sparkly embellishment to the star. This glitter is really fine and it gives a beautiful finish. You can see how beautifully the paint dried here and it looks so nice. So the last thing I did is I took a word, this is a MDF chipboard word that I covered first in the Deep Waters color and then I highlighted with Dragon's Eye sparkles. I glued the word hope in the middle using some gel medium. When I glued the word hope, I really felt that the wish that I had for the world and for every human being really went from my soul and from my heart right into this word and right into everyone who needs it. So I wish you for 2018 lots of hope and happiness and peace, and may you be surrounded by love and loved ones. Wishing you all a happy holiday and a happy new year. Thank you so much for watching. Have a wonderful day. Bye.